What's going on, everybody? This is LB, the realist with Surrealistic Studios, Surreal News, where the real is surreal. And it gets more surreal, folks. It gets more surreal. So check this out. President Biden has announced U.S. military missions will cease officially on August 31st. So they're taking every soldier out of Afghanistan. Wait a minute, LB. That's not completely true. We'll go ahead and dive into the story right now. So this is going to be from cbsnews.com. Again, I'll try to leave this in the description so you guys can just click it right there if you want to. But it says here, President Biden said the withdrawal from Afghanistan of U.S. troops after 20 years of war will conclude on August 31st ahead of the September 11th deadline he announced in mid-April. We are ending the nation's longest war, the president said in remarks at the White House Thursday. At the time he announced the September deadline, about 3,500 troops remained. Early this week, the Pentagon said that the withdrawal was 90% complete. It proceeded quickly for a reason. Our military commanders advised me that once I made a decision to end the war, we needed to move swiftly to conduct the main elements of the drawdown. And in this context, speed is safety, the president said. A different approach would have certainly come with an increased risk of safety to our personnel, and he noted that so far no U.S. military personnel have been lost in the process so far. U.S. forces last week exited Bagram Airfield, the largest American base in the country. The turnover of Bagram to the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces completed the U.S. transfer of all 7 bases to Afghanistan, in effect finishing the logistical part of the withdrawal. Although the president made August 31st the formal deadline for U.S. troops to be out of Afghanistan, the withdrawal is, for all intents and purposes, complete with the transfer of control of Bagram. The commander of NATO forces, not NATO, in Afghanistan, General Scott Miller, will soon be leaving the remaining forces in the charge of a 2-star general. The military supports the president's decision, even if top military advisors may not initially have concluded that the U.S. should withdraw. But Mr. Biden heard what they had to say, met with them at least a half a dozen times, and showed he was reading the briefing books. Ultimately, both agreed that the U.S. could not stay in Afghanistan forever. But there are greater threats facing the nation than Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. The United States cannot afford to remain tethered to policies creating a response to a world it was 20 years ago, Mr. Biden said. We need to meet the threats where they are today. The president has said the U.S. will continue to have a diplomatic presence in the country. To maintain an embassy in Kabul, several hundred troops will remain for protection, and more could support the security of Kabul International Airport. As U.S. troops have been withdrawing, the Taliban have been steadily seizing more territory. In the past 2 months, it has taken control of more than 80 of the 407 districts in Afghanistan, according to the Long War Journal, which closely tracks the conflict. The Long War Journal. In the past week alone, the Taliban has taken 10% of the country, currently controlling 195 districts. But Mr. Biden maintained Thursday that it is not inevitable the Taliban will take control of the country, noting that Afghan forces heavily outnumber the Taliban by about 300,000 to 75,000. The Afghan government and leadership has to come together. They clearly have to have the capacity to sustain the government in place, the president said. The question is, will they generate the kind of cohesion to do it? It's not a question of whether they have the capacity. They have the capacity. They have the forces. They have the equipment. The question is, will they do it? Mr. Biden insisted that, first of all, the mission hasn't failed, but he also pointed out that no nation has ever unified Afghanistan, that empires have gone there and not done it. Along with the withdrawal of troops, the U.S. is still working on airlifting over 60,000 Afghans, 18,000 interpreters and their families out of the country to protect them from the Taliban reprisals. Mr. Biden promised that the Afghans who have risked so much to help the U.S. are not going to be left behind. He announced that starting this month, the administration will begin relocating flights to third countries outside of Afghanistan for the applicants and their families who would like to leave. There's a home for you in the United States if you choose, and we will stand with you as you stood with us, Mr. Biden said. When asked what the U.S. would do, They did that so wrong. If Kabul fell, Mr. Biden said the U.S. would make a determination based on the danger to the U.S. So let me read that one more time. Let me fix their part and then read that last part one more time. When asked what would the U.S. do if Kabul fell, Mr. Biden said the U.S. would make a determination based on the danger to the U.S. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said Thursday that the U.S. remains committed to helping the Air Force of the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin recently approved the delivery of 2 refurbished UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters this month, with 35 more to come, as well as purchasing 3 more A-29 aircraft. It's not like we're clapping hands and walking away, Kirby said. And again, this was published just today, yesterday, from CBS News. Biden announces U.S. military mission in Afghanistan will end August 31st. Now, on its face, this is a very good thing. This is a very good thing. Biden is following through, and he's withdrawing all the troops from, well, not all the troops, but most of the troops from Afghanistan. Now, it just said here, 2 parts. It just said that, number one, there's still going to be personnel there. So, well, they're about 90% complete already, but they're still leaving people there. So, let's see here. Let's see where they get to that part. Let's see. Here we go. The president has said the U.S. will continue to have a diplomatic presence in the country, to maintain an embassy in Kabul. Several hundred troops will remain for protection, and more could support the security of Kabul International Airport. Now, not only are they saying that they're already going to leave troops there because we have an embassy there, so they're going to leave several hundred troops. Who knows how many several hundred are? That could be anywhere from, 2 to 900 people, right? Or 900 something, several hundred. Or maybe that's in the thousands and they're just saying hundreds. We never know with these people, right? So they're going to leave these people here to protect this embassy. And they asked him, what would you do if Kabul fell? And the president responded, the U.S. would make a determination based on the danger to the U.S. Well, we already bombed Syria recently, didn't we? All because of what? Dangers to the U.S. Because they were somehow threatening the U.S. even though we're way over here. They were way over here. But we have personnel out there, so if they get attacked, well, then that's attacking the U.S. They're attacking U.S. personnel. They're attacking the U.S. So right here, they're giving the leeway. They're giving the back door opening to, more war, more imperialism, more airstrikes, more intervention. Why? Because we still have people in their country. Now, be that as it may that as it be. It's an embassy, which is really another word for saying military base at this point. They have several hundred troops still staying there for support. So, take it for what it is, folks. Again, if you want to read this is CBSNews.com. Biden announces U.S. military mission in Afghanistan will end August 31st. Like this video, comment, subscribe, share. Love, peace, and light, folks. Until next time, remember, love, peace, and light. We need an anti-war movement in this country. Super bad. We need an anti-war movement as bad as we need Medicare for all, as bad as we need a third party. Seriously. Until next time, folks, I'm out. If you want to catch me on all social medias, hit the links down below. Support the show, hit the links down below.